Let's talk about, don't put all your eggs in one basket. The idea is that putting your life savings into one asset is risky. If that asset fails, your egg is broken, but in today's world, in some cases investors have the idea of doubling their investment with one or two holdings, and on the other hand, others fear diluting a company's potential return by diversifying too much. So what is the middle ground and what is the best way to go? Basically, diversification is a risk management strategy, which involves keeping your money in a variety of different assets to reduce your exposure to losses in some of these for different reasons. It can be anything from bad management, or bad investment in a new product launch, to a new regulation that causes a decrease in the company's sales, even natural disasters that affect the company's infrastructure. So having only a fraction of your money in that bad position means only a fraction of the potential losses you could have had if you had put all your eggs in that basket. In this way, diversification reduces the risk of our portfolio, which I can easily demonstrate with this example. We have two investors, one with $100,000 invested in one stock, and the other with $100,000 divided in 10 stocks of different companies, $10,000 in each. Each stock has a 70% chance of doubling his money, but a 30% chance of losing it. Of course, we would want both investors to make significant profits, but the investor who diversified his portfolio of assets is taking much less risk. If the first investor has a 30% chance of losing everything, that is a pretty significant risk, while the second investor would only lose everything if each investment reached this probability. This is highly unlikely. Mathematically, few of his positions would lose everything, so he would always have a positive return, so even though some positions may lose everything, the positive return of the remaining positions balances out and outweighs those losses. This is diversification, but it doesn't just mean having a lot of different stocks. It works when the positions in our portfolio are not correlated. It simply means that the price of these stocks should move independently of each other. If you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. If our investor has a diversified portfolio, but a 95% chance that all the stocks will show the same behavior, in the end we would be facing the same thing that the first investor is facing. If you are interested in calculating the correlation of some of your different investments, there is a tool in the portfolio viewer, which does the calculations for us. I leave you a link to it in the description. If you are less interested in the numbers, we can do something else. Look at the sectors of these companies and invest in different industries. It happens that normally in each of them companies have different risks, as well as sectors with more risks than others. I will give you several examples. Banks benefit from rising interest rates, by charging more for their loans, and real estate companies benefit from falling interest rates, which allows people to borrow more money to pay for their homes. If we invest in both, we are diversifying, and this reduces our risk. Investors can also diversify by investing in companies of various sizes, targeting both solid companies and small caps, the so-called small cap companies. It is also common to invest in several countries or regions, reducing the risk against geopolitical factors, such as tariffs and wars. Now, if we consider globalization, it has limited the impact of geographic diversification, especially during recessions, where different sectors can be equally affected, making it common for investors to split money equally across assets, such as bonds, stocks, cryptocurrencies, and even cash. Let's talk a little bit about risk. If we understand that this is equal to the volatility of stock prices, so one of the benefits that we can observe in diversification is that it smooths this volatility. Let's go back to the examples. We can compare in graphs these fluctuations to compare their effect. If we compare the same situation as before, the results show the growth of each investor's portfolio over time. We could see something like this. Here clearly the diversified portfolio has a smoother performance, which makes us go through less bad times, while in the first one we see that not so much. And then we understand why we consider diversification as such a fundamental component of the investment, reducing the risk of experiencing severe downturns. With all this, we can think that it would be good to accumulate as many shares as we can, but it happens that after a certain number it can stop having an effect, that is, each additional share in our portfolio decreases the volatility in smaller and smaller amounts. The first few shares may have a dramatic effect, but after 10 or 15 shares practically nothing, leaving a space for market risk, which is nothing more than that which affects a wide range of companies equally. If you have recently started investing, you may not have much money to hold 15 shares, but thanks to advances in this field there are brokers that offer very low commissions and that allow us to make as many transactions as our operations require, and access to ETF and mutual funds that offer diversified portfolios with hundreds of shares in a single asset. But does it make sense to hold more than 10 or 15 stocks, or could it actually be detrimental? This makes sense depending on who you ask. Passive investors may say yes, it's ideal for them, eliminating virtually all possible risks. But for active investors, there is a disadvantage. Having more shares means having more shares to trade, which increases the commission levels for these transactions, and it will take more time to keep track of all these companies, as they will not only have to look at the ones they own, but also those of their competitors, and this would take a lot of time. We can talk about some investors like Warren Buffett, who is a proponent of waiting for a great opportunity and taking a position in it. Buffett believes that if you are a good investor and you know what you are doing, you don't have to diversify. He says that if you have to diversify, it is because you don't understand the investments you are making very well. This divides investors into two groups: those who believe that diversification is the right thing to do, and those who believe that diversification is a protection against mediocrity. After all this, it remains for you to analyze which group you are in. If you liked the video, subscribe and leave us your like.